I'm Darlene. I am a recovered alcoholic, number one. I am addicted to many things. So alcoholic, drug addict, codependent, eating disorder, and the list goes on. Relationship addict. But thanks to these 12 steps, I've been able to recognize what the heck is going on. I just want to say thank you to Vicki and John for doing this meeting for us every Wednesday. I started coming, I think about 2 months ago. And I feel such a sense of community here and support. So I thank you for that. And I know you're both very busy right now with the move and you're still continuing with the meeting. So thank you. I'll just briefly talk about where I come from. I was adopted when I was a few months old into a family that didn't have drinking or drug addiction going on. However, there were strict rules. It was a strict religious home. My mother was a food addict. My father kind of a workaholic, and my grandmother was brought in to look after me because my mom had cancer when I was about 2 or 3 years old, and she hated kids. So you can imagine how that went down. So my addictions started in reflecting, my restlessness, irritability, and discontent started at a very early age. I remember running away from home as a 4-year-old child, and I would take my little blanket and my my clothes, and I would go sleep. Like, this is during the day. And so in my little world, I would think no one could really see me. And I just kind of plunked myself at the neighbor's house on their grass. And of course, my parents knew what was going on. But anyway, I was a handful. Like I said, I was always, trying to get attention, stuff like that. And then 2 of their own children came into the picture. So because they didn't think they could have children, and then they ended up having children. And so that just increased my I guess my spiritual malady. I love this program for teaching me about, it's a 3-sided disease. We've got the obsession of the mind, we've got the physical allergy, and most importantly, the spiritual malady. So fast forwarding, I was introduced to drug and alcohol world when I was about 15, and my parents did not like the change that they were seeing in me. I was involved with illegal activities, people that weren't the most upstanding, teenagers. And I felt that my parents were just being too strict. And so they gave me an ultimatum: you either get help for whatever's going on with you, or you move out because you're really disrupting this family. And so I left. To me, that was a logical thing to do. And I moved in with another girl who was kind of in the same predicament, and we basically both went on social assistance. And I stayed in school. I worked a few jobs, and she was just a full-time drug addict with a kid. So I'll fast forward to being introduced to the program. So my first eye opener was, and I knew of God, but I rejected God because it was just so, like, growing up, it was just like a punishing God. You have to go to church every Sunday. If you do this, this is going to happen. So I just rejected that God. And especially when my mom ended up, she had cancer and died when I was 20, 2, that was it for me. Like I wanted nothing to do with God. So I was introduced to this program when I was about 28. So back in 1996. And I had little chunks of time. So I would go to meetings, but the spiritual malady was really running rampant. I wasn't really aware of what was going on. I really had a difficult time accepting that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Like I just was still running on, that's impossible. This can't be me. And, you know, stuff was going on too, like my eating disorder. I had actually stopped the bulimia after my daughter was born when she was 23, and I just really heavily got into physical activity. And so introduced to the program when I was 27, 28, and had brief years of recovery, but very, very unhappy, seeking outside things to fill this void that I felt inside. And so I was really jumping from relationship to relationship. I'll just give a brief description. I love our book where it says, the alcoholic is like, and this is me sober, okay? So this is me sober for a very long time. The alcoholic addict is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted, selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. And that's what I thought. I thought, I'm not using, I'm not drinking, and so that's the main thing. For whatever reason, it wasn't coming through to me that more work had to be done. And says here, to his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" And that's basically me in a nutshell in my experience of the recovery world up until, I guess, 2010. And so I had been through 2 marriages, just complete destruction as a sober person, a tornado running through people's lives. I also had a daughter that, you know, I felt like I was raising her to the best of my ability. After all, I wasn't drinking, so I was doing pretty good. But I kept relapsing. Like I'd go out for one night, or I'd go out for like, you know, 2 nights, and then I'd come back. And I had a really bad relapse 10 years ago where I couldn't come back. Like I really hit a bottom that I believe I needed to hit in order for me to concede to my innermost self that I was indeed, you know, I had this malady they were talking about. I had this allergy and this obsession of the mind. So I was now willing, a little bit willing to say, okay, well, I knew that I could never, ever use drugs or alcohol again, because I was on death's doorstep. And so that was kind of the beginning of my recovery. That was like 8 years ago. I've been clean since then. However, BBA came to my attention about a year ago, the Big Book Awakening. And the first I heard of it was someone said, well, turn to page 52 in our big book and take a look at your recovery. This will give you a good idea of what's going on. So I'm not in BBA yet, but I read, we had to ask ourselves, Darlene, shouldn't I apply my human problems the same readiness to change my point of view? Am I having trouble with personal relationships? Could I control my emotional nature? Was I a prey to misery and depression? Check, check. As I'm reading this, We couldn't make a living. Well, I was making a living, but I was angry, very angry and resentful. Did I have a feeling of uselessness? Kind of. Was I filled with fear? Very much so. Was I unhappy? I wasn't very happy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. Was not a basic solution of these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Well, that just about stopped me in my tracks. And I have to say that when I was invited to the first workshop of BBA, I thought there was nothing more I could possibly learn about the big book. And after reading page 52, I was kind of sold on maybe there was a little more that I could learn. And so I did believe in God, a higher power. But I really didn't, I wasn't really believing that he could solve all my other life problems. Yes, he could take away my obsession to use and drink, but the other problems I wasn't doing so well at, and I had a hard time trusting. So I started this process, and it's changed everything. I'm ashamed to say, I can't even believe that for 18 years, I just tried to run my life on self-will. And if I had just for a second, I just let go and maybe trusted God, then things would have been very different for me. I just want to see what time we're at. Okay, so what's changed for me today is that I'm living in step 10, 11, and 12. So in step 10, I ask my sponsees to always read page 84 to 88, and I will always set my alarm early in the morning, and I do this. And so it says here, this brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. It's like that was the first time a year ago. It's like the first time I ever read that. I'm supposed to grow in understanding and effectiveness. I was so self-centered and so selfish with my time and filled with fear and resentment. I had no time to grow in any of these things. I'll give you an example. This morning, it's been total chaos at work, and I deal with patients, and they're sick, and they want to talk. And so what's changed in me is I actually want to listen, and I want to see if I can help them in any way. The way I was operating before was like, oh, hurry up and say what you're going to say. Like, I've got work to do. And so I know just by that, God is working in my life. I've accessed this power that is infiltrating my thinking. And so it says here to continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. So my spiritual malady is just waiting for me, and that's why I need to stay so vigilant with the meetings and stay in contact with the people here. I need to work the steps. I need to stay in constant contact with my higher power. I talk to God all day long. I used to only call on God when life was getting really hard. Today, I actually have a relationship with God. So it's like stuff comes up during the day and I can handle it. I may not like it, or my default might be to, I don't know, run away or what other defaults? When things get tough, relationships, my default is to run away. And today what I do when I'm feeling that, I pick up a phone and I call somebody whose recovery I really admire. You know, I did it the other day, and I was able, just in discussing my point of view, my skewed perception, this person was able to say, well, how about you look at it this way? And it changed everything. You know, I didn't have to react and quit, and you know, I was able to say, yeah, okay, I want to be an agent of God. I want God to be my director. You know, I no longer want to run the show. And when I am running the show, I feel it. I feel very antsy, filled with fear. And I'm just too tired to be feeling those things anymore. I want to live in, you know, happiness, peace, and joy. And I have to say that this last year, peace has entered me like something I've never felt before, and I want more of it. And that's why I continue to do the work, and I just love it. I can't get enough, you know, and I'm very excited for this new chapter of my recovery, and also bringing other women through the process, because it's very different from what my recovery looked like 7 years ago. So I'm super grateful and just really glad to be here. Have a great day.